Hello, welcome to this week's video on progesterone. So this is probably a hormone that I think is getting some spotlight now, but it's a hormone that needs to shine for us to shine. So we're going to talk about what does she do at all ages, not just when you're a cycling female, and why is she so important and how can we help her? Okay, so progesterone, think of it as the mother of all hormones. So one of her major roles is she helps all our other hormones to kind of get in line. So when they are not performing or behaving well, she kind of keeps them in balance. And one thing about hormones, they are chemical messengers. If they're not in balance, we suffer. So progesterone's main jobs in the body is she's sort of a calming, natural anti-anxiety hormone, and she helps us with happiness and joy. So I can feel like everyone could do with a good dose of progesterone. But she does hold the blood nest on the menstrual cycle. So often women who aren't getting enough progesterone, or they will have very heavy periods. They can also have clots in their periods. There's a lot of problems that will show up in the menstrual cycle itself, but progesterone's also a bone building hormone. So that's really interesting because you will see through the baby boomers generation, who a lot of them went on the contraceptive pill and blocked ovulation, which means you're not making progesterone. You'll see there is quite an increase in osteoporosis, which I think is very interesting to note. So we get a full new set of bones every 10 years, and our bones are made of minerals. So this is where learning how to remineralize the body and support the body's bone building environment is really important. So progesterone is made predominantly in the ovaries and the adrenal glands. So this is why I talk a little bit about things like caffeine and alcohol, because if your adrenal glands make your adrenaline and cortisol, and we're in a world today which we're hyper-stimulated through our phones and our schedules and our day-to-day life, it's very easy for our adrenals to be pumping out this stress hormone, cortisol and adrenaline, and then it dumps that in the blood, and the person is just sitting at the computer typing because the brain's telling the adrenals there's a crisis going on, but the body's not reacting to the crisis. She's still typing. So the adrenals make that adrenaline, cortisol to get you to run away from the tiger, but you're still sitting there. So there's a couple of sayings. When cortisol is high, progesterone gets shy. Okay, what does that mean? Well, if you're not running away, that means that you're not using that adrenaline and cortisol, so the body's not sending it to the muscles to run. You're still sitting there just typing. The body's going to store it, and then the liver's going to try and deal with it, but if the liver's too busy, it will send it back and it recycles. And this is where you see this rise in inflammation. And this is where you start to see that the person then is bringing in, they're drinking out of a plastic water bottle, or they're heating their food up in plastic. That's just one xenoestrogen, which is called a man-made estrogen, and the liver can't break it down very well, if at all. That's why my last client was just talking about a friend who works in surgery, and they see the plastic in the organs when they're doing surgeries. The body struggles to break this stuff down, and what happens is because it mimics the role of estrogen in your body. Estrogen, when she's elevated, progesterone's down here in a cycling female, but when you ovulate, it should reverse. But estrogen, because it's a man-made estrogen, it's not being removed. So when it's time to ovulate, progesterone's not coming up. So this is what we call estrogen dominance. And sometimes when I'm treating this person, I actually clean the chemicals. They support the liver to clean the chemicals out of the liver. And then they notice their progesterone coming through. So long story short, with progesterone, unless you test, you're just guessing. So I love symptoms because the body gives us symptoms when we're low or high, but there is a couple of really good tests I use. One is a temperature test, and the other one involves symptomatic testing, because our body gives us symptoms. So sometimes you'll see the individual, the menstrual cycle won't be healthy, and I have to teach them what a healthy menstrual cycle is. We won't do that today, but we can talk about that. And a lot of people are shocked that they thought having heavy cycles or having clots in their cycle or having a lot of pain was normal. So it was their normal, but it's not healthy. So often we find we can get pain with our menstrual cycle because our minerals are really low. So keep that in mind. So sometimes I have to give the client a really good dose of a supplement to undo that. Sometimes we have to look at what's removing the minerals too fast. So if you had a cup of coffee and you measured your urine, you will see a whole lot of minerals have just been dumped out with that adrenaline in the cup you've just drunk. So sometimes we have to look at your lifestyle to see what is helping and harming, and then support. Often, if cortisol's too high, we need to nourish her. So I'll give them some adaptogenic herbs. I'll give you an example. So this is one I use frequently. So these herbs basically really intense nourishment for the adrenal glands, so they help to regulate her. And I'll often give them a high dose zinc and vitamin C, and I'll use some wild yam cream to help support progesterone as well. These are simple little strategies. There's more personalized stuff when you have zero estrogen detox, but again, that can be easily done. And I just want you to consider this, because with progesterone, she is, when you go through a change at perimenopause to menopause, the ovaries at menopause, and to be clear, it means you haven't had a menstrual cycle for 12 months. So after that, your ovaries are closing up shop and they're handing the ball over to the adrenal glands. But if you've been living on adrenaline and cortisol for your 20s, 30s, and 40s, moving into your 50s, which is a more common age of menopause, don't be surprised if we have some problems now, because the adrenals then are like, what, you want me to make progesterone now? I've been doing all this hard work. So supporting our adrenals early in life and being just knowledgeable how to support them. Because if they don't, the body often attacks our beauty bits. You'll often see a lot of different problems going haywire. I see a lot of this now. Women are losing hair on the crown of their head. They're getting oily scalps, and they struggle with hair growth in areas that they don't want the hair growing. So this is a result of the androgen hormone overfiring. So again, I still want to encourage you to come back and test the hormone, have a chat to me if this is something that you think you need help with, so we can get to your root cause. Because often it's lifestyle with the right supplements for you that are going to give you the healing. And knowing that our body is an amazingly designed machine that's designed to heal itself if given the right environment. Okay, so great news. We need to love up progesterone and just learn some simple things and have a conversation to make sure that you are supporting her opposed to ignoring her until the symptoms start screaming. All right, have a lovely day. Bye.